Hey, this is Rachel Moore. Today I'm going to tell you all about space debris, also known as space junk or trash. And I decided to make a presentation because I found a lot of cool graphs about this topic. So I think you might agree that one of the most amazing things about humanity is how we've been able to leave our planet and explore the solar system. But imagine if we couldn't do that anymore, if we were trapped here on Earth. That is a distinct possibility due to space debris. Today, we're going to talk about the different types of space junk, from our history to our future, the dangers, and some proposed solutions. You might be wondering, what even is space debris? So, space debris, junk, or trash, can be old satellites, parts of spacecraft or rockets, pieces of solar panels, or even frozen coolant. Basically, any part of a man made object which remains in orbit around the Earth. And the types of space junk vary greatly in size, all the way from entire satellites to tiny pieces. This chart from Soundings Magazine shows some of the numbers. So, for objects that are greater than 10 centimeters, there are about 34,000 pieces. There are 900,000 pieces between 1 and 10 centimeters, and 128 million pieces between 1 millimeter and 1 centimeter. And these numbers don't even count the tiniest pieces. NewsRx Health explains if a celestial object like a micrometeoroid, those are really big, but these would be teeny tiny, if that hits a man made object, the resulting fragments can go so fast that even a minuscule particle like a paint chip could have enough force to impact and puncture a satellite or the International Space Station. So now we know what space debris is, but how has it become such a problem? Well, astronomers and space experts have been worried about space debris since the 1960s. Nature magazine explains about the first time public concerns were raised about this issue. A U.S. Air Force project in 1963 sent millions of small copper needles into orbit. This was a backup plan for radio communications. They were testing high altitude nuclear weapons. They wanted to make sure that didn't interrupt the radio signals. If it did, these would help it continue. So, this marked one of the first times when the public began to see space as part of nature that should be preserved. However, since the first launch of the first satellite way back in 1957, it's not even on the chart here, the number of space objects that are no longer in use, it has skyrocketed. Nature magazine reports in 1970 there were about 2,000 space objects. By the year 2000, this number was 7,500, and in 2018, it had reached 20,000. That's only the really large ones. Now we know what space debris is and how it started to grow, but what does it look like today and in the future? Unfortunately, the problem is only getting worse. As you can see from this chart from Nature magazine, the growth is increasing exponentially, especially in recent years. And Soundings magazine reports this is becoming an even more pressing issue as companies like SpaceX are launching many thousands of communication satellites into orbit to provide internet service. And the SpaceX Starlink project plans to have 42,000 satellites in orbit. And one night, if you look up, you may even see these satellites moving in a line like this one. Unfortunately, there have already been several incidents due to space debris. One mentioned in Nature magazine happened in 2009. An American satellite collided with an out of service Russian satellite. This created thousands of new fragments, each one posing a different threat to other satellites in low Earth orbit. And here is a picture made by NASA, published in Nature magazine. This visualizes the larger objects in orbit. It's already crazy, and this does not even include the billions of smaller pieces. Ultimately, we're in a new era of space exploration. This quote from Soundings magazine sums it up really well. Outer space, humanity's shared resource, is fast turning into the next Wild West. The 21st century, unlike the 20th, will not see a race between nations, but rather a race between private companies to exploit space assets, mine space resources, and ferry tourists. And the more objects there are in orbit, the greater the chances of a domino effect event. This is referred to as the Kessler syndrome. As NewRx Health Reports explains, when a collision happens, these objects could then hit other objects, causing a chain reaction. This could leave humanity unable to leave Earth. Obviously, this is a big problem. Thankfully, scientists are hard at work exploring various solutions. Some of these options, reported by Nature magazine, include tracking systems. That only works, though, for the larger objects. Nets or magnets to sweep up and catch the debris. And lasers to destroy or deflect the objects. And most of these objects would just send the debris into Earth's atmosphere, where it would burn up pretty harmlessly. An article from NewsRx Health reports on a fascinating new way to deal with space debris. So, researchers at West Virginia University are developing an array of multiple lasers which would be mounted on platforms in space. These lasers would be controlled by AI, artificial intelligence, making them agile and able to quickly address threats. And the study is supported by NASA. These are just some of the innovative solutions that scientists are working on. To recap, today we talked about what space debris is, the history and growth, and what it's like today and in the future, and potential solutions. I hope you learned something interesting today. I'm excited to see what you all have to share. Thank you for listening.